Hello, brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining us and thank you for coming to watch this live session. And we are hoping that you are going to join our live session. But today we are not celebrating Africa. We've always been celebrating Africa. Hey, good things happen in Burkina Faso. Niger is standing, stoic and saying we are not being shaken. But today, our title is War for My Motherland, Congo and Sudan, because of these are two places or two countries in Africa in which there has been war.
Yeah.
And this war has not started in 2022 or 2023. It's a war that's been there for a long time. And when we talk about these countries, these are very strategic countries when it comes to minerals, like in Congo and also Sudan. And when we look at them, we see the infiltration of other people, not the people of that country, which is leading to war. And there's a lot of humanitarian crisis right now in both countries. A lot of people have been killed, women raped, people displaced, and nobody's talking about it because when you go to the media, a lot of people are talking about Gaza, Palestine. A lot of people are talking Ukraine and Russia. But when we compare this, what is happening in Africa, that is Congo and Sudan, and what is happening in those other countries, that is Gaza and
Ukraine.
Ukraine, it's like a drop in the ocean because even Malema said a lot more people are being killed in Congo compared to even what is happening in. Then another thing is when we look at these two wars, especially Congo, is so complicated.
Ooh.
So complicated in such a way that we tried to look for information online. We are looking at people like this young person, this young man on Twitter. His name is Chakabas. I think he has some roots from the Congo, and he's been tried to call out and tell people to talk about Congo because nobody is talking about Congo. The only thing that maybe you heard was during the UNGA when the Congolese
Was saying, "You
president
guys get out."
Tshisekedi was telling the UN to leave because they have been there for 25 years. They have not done anything. Then he was also telling the US and UK to put sanctions on Rwanda. Then he also said that this rebel group called M23, he said we are not going to give them attention. We're not going to sit down and talk. And I can see our brother AO of 5D. He wrote earlier, like 3 hours or 4 hours ago, he said, I'm following what's going on in Gaza. I share what I know about it with people. I tell them that I support Palestine, but I always end that statement with, but what about Congo? What about Sudan? So in our today live session,
I think we've cried enough for Palestine.
And what we can say, we've been comparing it to South Africa apartheid, and we've been saying this is what is happening. Then we also talked about Russia, Ukraine in some small bits because it doesn't concern too much Africa, but
it does, but
a little. But when we talk about Congo and Sudan, these are brothers and sisters, especially in Congo, because Sudan is also a bit complicated because apart from going into the fact that it is the two parts or two groups, military groups fighting to own Sudan. Apart from the fact that it's two groups fighting and people are being killed, it's also moving into tribal clash. We can call ethnicity. Exactly, it's moving into ethnic cleansing, we can call it that. So we are going to tell you about what is happening in these both cases, we start with Sudan because it's the simplest one. It's not. I'm not saying that in terms of
That's it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
But comparing the two, it's easy to understand Sudan than
Compared to
Congo.
Congo. Ooh,
Because
Congo.
for Congo, you are going to take a lot of time. And if you are there and you have some information of what is happening, please, we invite you. We invite you to join
To
us.
share. Yeah.
Yeah, and share. So when we talk about Sudan, we remember the Darfur War. That was Darfur War happened. Darfur War happened in about 2003 when Sudan. Of course, there was the South Sudan, one country called Sudan, but they divided it. But when we talk about Darfur, Darfur is an area in the western part of Sudan, in which Sudan is closer to Egypt, and as you go south from Egypt, people are likely to look Arabic. Like you look at the north of Africa, it's wholly Arabic. From Egypt, going to Tunisia, Libya, Algeria, Morocco, they all Arabic. So because of the
Influence. Is it
and the
influence?
intermarriages and also as you come down from Egypt, coming to Sudan, coming to South Sudan, that way, or through Eritrea, Ethiopia, you find people having these likenesses of Arabic. And that's why you see what is happening in Sudan. At one point, there was something called the Darfur War. The people of Darfur are not Arabs, and they look more like the people of the
South Sudan.
not South Sudan, like the south area of Africa or the sub-Saharan Africa. So these people are not Arabic, but you find they are Muslims, but they don't have that likeness of Arabic. And they felt that the government of the former president of Sudan, Omar al-Bashir, was not taking care of them. They were discriminated, what we can call kind of a racism type of. And that led to them rising and creating these rebel groups. And that is what now al-Bashir created with his military. He created another paramilitary group called Jajawid to fight these people. And when we talk about the Darfur genocide, a lot of people were killed. A lot, like over 300,000 people were killed and millions displaced. That was back in 2003. From then, But when we talk about right now, what is happening? So Omar al-Bashir, the former president of Sudan, and who has been facing cases with the ICC. This guy, he came into power in 1989 through a coup. He came into power through a coup in 1989, and he stayed there for 30 years. And during those 30 years, when you talk about 1989, 30 years, you are coming up to about 2009, right? So, but 1989,
2019.
the 2019 exactly, because that is when the people started rioting because they never wanted him. And remember, we had the Darfur War or the Darfur genocide way earlier, like in 2003. A lot of people had been killed, and now the people of Sudan are like, we are tired. We don't want this guy. And in 2019, there were a lot of protesting, a lot of riots. The army, this group called Jajawid now with a new name known as RSF, Rapid Support Forces, came and joined together. At some point, they killed the protesters. So you find like over 100 protesters were killed. Then, then they ousted the president. So when they ousted the president, Omar al-Bashir, the army both of them took power. But people are like, no, we don't want this army-led government. We want a civilian. So they created an army and political parties or political groups, transition, group together in which they were to lead to a transitional period to go to democratic. But now, remember, they have the prime minister who is a civilian. Okay, and in 2021, just 2 years or 2 years ago, they ousted the prime minister who is a civilian, and they took power. So the huge thing here is now between the army and the RSF, which was previously Janjaweed, who is going to lead, the government. Okay, so there've been some rivalry between them, with the army being led by this guy called Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the Rapid Support Forces being led by General Mohammed Hamad Dagalo, also nicknamed Hemedti. Hemedti had led Janjaweed, which was, did a lot of war crimes in Benin, no, Darfur, ethnic cleansing, Then they committed a lot of war crimes there. Then they changed the name into 2013 and now worked with the army. And in 2019 now, both this Hemeti and Al-Burhan, they joined and ousted the president. And now, after that, the RSF became like an independent entity. And you see, we need one government, right? But RSF is like so independent in such a way that they are doing their own business, especially in gold. And with that, it started growing in force. And the military was like, if we keep on, working with these guys and they are growing, they might outgrow us. So remember this Al Buhan who leads the army. It's so growing. So they wanted to merge so that RSF can be swallowed by can be integrated into the army. But now the army says we want you to integrate with that in the next 2 years.
But
The RSF want to integrate in 10 years because they are doing some businesses in gold and all that. Then we have to
with who? Doing business with who?
With the international community.
Exactly.
So UAE supports RSF. Egypt supports the army. Okay. So that is what has been happening. And now the worst came, in Darfur. I don't know why Darfur is the one that has always been like this place that they have to go and fight. And there's in November around 4th or 5th, the RSF took one city called El Geneina in Darfur, and they've been there for quite some time. Lots of people have been killed. Most of people displaced have moved to Chad. So you find a lot of people in Chad, others in South Sudan, and man, it's a lot of humanitarian crisis. So like then there were reports of about 1,300 people were killed in El Geneina, and even there were videos of people killed, and everywhere in the city you see bodies of people being killed. But now when you come to Darfur, it's usually ethnic cleansing. And at some point, there is a media which reported them saying, or they interviewed a survivor who said they were saying, we are going to ensure that these black people are finished, like we completely decimate them. So when you go to Darfur, it's ethnic cleanse. But remember, the international community, the AU, the IGAD met, I think, a week ago. They have all been talking about this. So there are plans of these guys, these two army generals coming together and talking so that they can find a central agreement and stop the war.
High Nature speaks. She says, I don't know if it's a she or he. Yeah. Our enemies put us to sleep over 400 years, but we are waking up now. Soon everything will be okay.
Yeah, thank you. Then this Esperanza was saying, this is quite a topic, one that requires several sequences of live stream to exhaust. Yeah, it's true. It's true, but for today we are going to introduce it so that our people can be knowing what is happening, because a lot of people are not talking about it. The media, not a lot of them are talking about compared to what is happening in Gaza. Yeah. So guys, we've seen like today the RSF just took another city in Sudan. It's close to Khartoum, but let me see the name.
One thing I can say about this thing is that in the center of all these things that we are talking about, conflicts and wars and terrorism and all of these fights, even if you are calling them ethnic cleansing,
Yeah.
somewhere in the center,
Someone
there's someone who is making
benefiting.
sure that these things continue, that these things will never end in Africa, one way or the other. It might be for reasons of resources, natural resources, or I don't know, some, they also thrive in our instability because they have so many organizations
Yeah.
that they benefit from. If you finish the conflicts in Congo, in Sudan, it means the UN will no longer be needed. It means so many jobs will be lost. So, in the center of all of these things, it's not just
There's someone.
Africans fighting each other. They have made us hate each other. They have. I've seen some comments saying we should not keep on focusing our energy on them. We should
Yeah.
also look into how we are
We can
fueling
help.
some of these things
Yeah.
and how we can stop these things as Africans. So Africans, I don't know if we are able to, I don't know, because if you are able to kill a brother because of something that you yourself do not understand or you found yourself caught up into, and you're able to take whatever and kill this person and move on and kill the next one, to me, even if you're army or you're what, it tells me that there's something wrong with
Yeah.
us as a people.
Yeah. To add on that, they are calling the town word Madani. That is happening today. Then the IGAD meeting, which happened last week, there are reports that the army chief, that is Al Burhan, and RSF Hemedi will be able to meet in person very soon. So we are hoping that will lead to a positive, positive outcome. But then, like you have said, we are look at these guys when they go to Darfur, they kill a lot of people because they are saying these are not our race, because they feel they are Arabs and the others are
Black.
they are black Africans. But when you look at them, they are actually just black people. The only difference is the hair. So you find that it's this thing of castes in which you are told that the black person is down there, then we have the Indian, we have the Chinese.
Then amongst
because
us
of
blacks,
color.
amongst us blacks, the light skinned is better off than the dark skinned. Some people even say South Sudanese are too dark for my liking.
Yeah.
I mean, are you God? I mean, so even amongst us Africans, we have that discrimination based on your color,
Yeah.
even based on where you come from. Like if you come from Sudan, South Sudan, some people will just say, no, I can't associate with you guys. So there is just too much that is going on in Africa, and to think that these things have been going on in front of us, and
Yeah.
little has been done, little has been said. Okay, so many people have said so many things. The UN has come up with I don't know how many reports on how many people have died, how many are being displaced. That is the information that they will provide. But given the job to stop these things on the ground, nah, they don't want to do that. What are we doing? Just wasting time.
But I think what we need as Africans is to look for solutions within us. Because let me talk about the AU, the African Union. What is it doing that is helping?
Nothing.
Because if you cannot bring these people together and ask them, what do you want? Because we need to develop a government for everybody, a government that is, that is caring for all the people, a government that is inclusive of all ethnic groups. Bring them, people from, we have those rebels from Darfur, we have the RSF, we have the army. Bring their leaders here and the other groups, because there are other groups across the country. Bring them and ask them, what do you want? And all of them will, give them give their grievances. This is what we want. We want to be catered for this way. We want to have this share. Darfur is very, very rich in oil, and probably part of the fight is we have oil. You extract our oils, but you don't give us any benefits. So after that, they sit down but then they should not allow people from the external, you know,
That is where the
the
problem is.
international, the external forces to enter. But because that is the biggest problem, because if these guys are mining gold and they are sending this gold to UAE, then UAE, because there are reports of that weapons are coming out of UAE, coming through some East African countries, which they are not saying which one, and entering
Sudan.
Sudan. So we are hoping that this meeting, which IGAD is saying that might happen very soon between these two guys, that is Al Burhan and Hemedi, will bear good fruits for the people of Sudan, and this will be the end of the chaos that have been happening in Sudan, the massacres, you know, a lot of things. Actually, the reason even when which South Sudan said we want our own country was that a lot of people are killed in Darfur. And I am sure they would like to have their own country. But imagine a country that works and they can extract their minerals, process their minerals, and you know, but these external forces that enter our nations and you know take people and then influence them to killing people so that they can extract the minerals for a cheaper rates.
And I don't understand these people who continue to fuel these conflicts, what they feel, what they think in their heads. Because looking at the number of South Sudanese who have been misplaced since all of this broke in Sudan and South Sudan, when you look at some people living in Kenya, South Sudanese living in Kenya, and that some are living in very not so good conditions. You find that 30 people are living in one bedsitter, one bedroom house. And those people, most of them are unemployed in those countries. Some are in refugee camps. And I remember there's this lady who was, I think we talked about it in our previous
Yeah.
life, who grew up in a refugee camp. And she was just narrating how the kind of life that they grow up in, the kind of conditions that they live in those refugee camps. Some of them are taken to modeling agencies, they are forced to work. Some, you know, it's not conducive environments for people, children to live and to grow up in. And then you being an African leader and you're okay with all of these things happening, and you let you let the international community
Use you.
use you, help you to, I don't know if it's for their own
But
benefit or it's for the internet or it's all of them benefiting, and then you are just happy, and there's people trying to develop the continent, you're bringing all the efforts down. I don't know.
but when you look at RSF, what we are calling Jajawid, which was Jajawid before, why was that paramilitary force uh, developed? It was to quell the rebellion that was happening in Darfur. You know, when people rebel against you as a leader, you're supposed to ask yourself why. Then approach them. What do you want? This is what we want. We want you to look for us, to look at us this way, and we want you to cater for us this way. But for him was like we need to quell that. And that is what led to the Darfur massacre. And since then, Darfur has never been the same. Look at that. It was developed to kill. Why do you think that the leader can change? Until like the plan is to integrate it into the army and maybe forget everything that happened, which will be difficult for the people. Because even today, you see in the news people saying, I lost a brother, I lost my dad, I lost. And guys, just to show you what they talk about, when they talk about the different ethnics, let me show you what we mean by the ones that are calling themselves Arabs. These are the guys. You see, they are a bit.
Is it showing on the screen?
Yeah.
Let me cancel.
Okay. Yeah, so these are the people who are calling themselves Arabs. They are a bit light, but they are black.
I see a black man. I see black men here. I
Yeah.
don't see no Arab.
Yeah.
Hi, Africans.
Yeah. So we have African Dave who's saying, sorry to ask, sorry to ask out of topic, but how can I grow this channel? It's very hard. Have been pushing and I'm in the verge of giving up. Oh, bro. Thank you, African Dave. Hey,
I think what I can say is that consistency is the key.
yeah,
For
consistency.
YouTube, I think you just keep
You
on
need, yeah, you need
posting
to
your
keep
videos.
on posting.
Yeah.
Then he adds that the war in Sudan is complex. It's caused by foreign influence. Yeah, yeah, it's foreign influence. Then Sudan military wanted to open Russia military. Yeah, yeah, that's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because before April 15th, because the war started in April 15th, Sudan had signed a deal with Russia
Mm-hmm.
to open a military base
Mm-hmm.
in Sudan, and US was against.
Yeah.
And there were reports that that could have led to, you know, people now this war happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is one. Then
And guys, please, before we leave our brother or sister here, African Dive, please subscribe to African Dive. Let's help
yeah,
the
yeah,
channel
yeah,
grow.
yes,
Yeah. We don't know what you cover in your channel, is it brother or sister? But yeah, yeah. We hope that our audience will go and support you.
yeah. So there's
So
Sono
no,
O Live.
yeah.
It says Dr. John Hedrick Clark did an amazing lecture on the Sudan. I think it's still on YouTube. It explains how the Arabs need Sudan. Yeah, that is very true. Thank you. And I think that is why we are seeing, or we there's alleged
Mm-hmm.
reports
Mm-hmm.
of UAE supporting the Rapid Support Forces, because
Yeah.
these guys they are doing businesses with them on the.
Go.
Yeah. So to wrap up on Sudan, I'm going to read a piece from the East African, which is IGAD heads of state and government after the summit on Saturday, that is last Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
said that they had placed a telephone call with Hemedti, the leader of Rapid Support Forces. They said they had appreciated his acceptance on the proposals of the assembly for an unconditional ceasefire resolution of the conflict through political dialogue and the holding of a one-to-one meeting with the commander of the Sudan Army with the facilitation of IGAD.
Mm-hmm.
IGAD is the Intergovernmental Agency on Development.
Yeah.
It usually comprises of the East African countries, that is Uganda,
Kenya,
Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia,
Burundi.
Sudan, South Sudan. Yeah, those countries around there. And we are hoping that it will be perfect. It will
Mm-hmm.
bring, positive
Outcome.
outcome
Mm.
for Sudan. Now we go to Congo, because that's another pain for Africa. And I can tell you what is happening in Congo has been happening since 1994, when we had Rwanda genocide.
Mm.
And from Rwanda genocide, it escalated into Congo. And we are talking about over 6 million people killed since then. 6 million.
And
That
it's
is,
it's probably, yeah, it's over. Yeah, I think we can
yeah,
just be
it's
safe and say
over.
over, because even the UN statistics on some of these issues, I seem to have a problem with them, because most of these wars I see over 6 million displaced, and I'm like, is it everybody who is displaced? Is it over 6 million for all of these countries? What is happening? African type brother. Oh, brother. Okay, brother. I cover African news, politics, and African documentary. Then our audience is at home. Guys,
Yeah.
please check
Please
out our brother.
subscribe to African Dive once you're here,
Yeah,
and support him, because he's covering a lot of things that would be
exactly.
beneficial to us, knowing what is happening
Yeah.
in our motherland.
We also check you out, brother, and definitely subscribe. Thank you
Yes.
so much. All right, so getting into Congo, the Congo crisis is complex. When you do your own research in all of this international media, even local media, people seem to be confused on what is happening and what is the solution. We don't even want to ask who started it, you know.
Actually, if you just go online and write Congo, what is happening in Congo? I think the only media that is covering bits is Al
Al
Jazeera
Jazeera,
and
yeah.
maybe African News
Yeah.
bits. And even if you see Al Jazeera, it's 7 months ago.
And I think it's intentional because if this story of Congo was to blow up just like the way they blew up Palestine and Ukraine, it would mean that so much attention would be
Yeah,
on Congo.
exactly.
And if that attention is taken to Congo, it's a disaster for them.
Yeah.
Because Africans will stand up and say, nah,
Yeah.
we can't let this
Because
happen to our
actually,
brothers and
a lot
sisters.
of people don't know about the killings that is happening in
No, they
Congo.
don't.
And you know it even doesn't even ring. But when you go on X, you find people talking about Congo. This is what is happening in Congo. One will be because there's been blames on Rwanda. Another will be blaming, the government of Congo. Yeah, so
And the UN is also blamed.
the UN has been there for 25 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
guys.
So
I think maybe we can start just to simplify. I think in DRC, CIA fingerprints is all over. Yeah,
Wow.
some are also blaming that. So there's just too much blame game, and there's no solution.
Okay, when you look at those international media that they are, the international media which is focusing on Congo, they only talk about the government, the M23, which is a rebel,
Rwanda.
yeah, and Rwanda, and sometimes Uganda. But they don't, that is just a drop in the ocean. Because when you go at looking at people who are covering this, they will tell you that Congo is the richest, wealthiest country in the world. They have all these minerals: gold, coltan, cobalt, iron, tin, copper, a lot of, actually they say there are others which we've never, uranium, we don't even know the names of, we've never heard of the names, probably only remains in the periodic table. And you find that when we talk about this, there are other people involved, especially the corporates, which are involved in making electronics, technology companies, which pay some of, in just in Eastern DRC, there's over 100 rebel groups. Now you can, these corporates pay these rebel groups
just to cause chaos,
so that they can they use the local people as slaves in the mining. Then these minerals are sold to them cheaply. So they don't want to go through the long way of, the government.
Yeah, you just cause chaos and then we come with.
And someone said that there's a case in which Apple and Tesla is involved in court in the US for using minerals in which people have been, used, human labor have been used as like slaves, and also children, kid labor, children labor, child labor have been used. Yeah. So let's go.
I think let me just confess, I will need our audience assistance on this one. I think we have a comment here. I think I need our audience assistance and I need your assistance in unpacking, even if it's just a tip, on the iceberg.
But let's start. Okay, this Nature Speaks, thank you. You're saying, I'm so happy that you're talking about Congo. Wow. Our people in the diaspora are talking about Gaza while our people are dying. This is intentional, but I'm hopeful the narrative is changing, and a lot of people are not talking about Congo. And to Congo in the next 8 days, just 4 days, they will be having a presidential election.
Imagine. Yeah. With all of that chaos, with all of that.
And the president of Congo, just 2 days ago or 3 days ago, was in some area where he was blaming he's blaming the Rwandese president. Okay, there's been reports that he's involved, and he's blaming him in the campaign. So he's using him
Rwanda
to campaign.
as a scapegoat.
Because you have failed,
you blame everything on, it's because Rwanda has caused.
Okay, we don't want to say he's not involved. We don't know that. we don't know too much about that. But can we just go to where it
Before we
started?
go on, Sosono
Or leave
says France is deep in the
Sudan
In
as well.
Sudan as well. They want to grab the gold in Darfur. You
Yeah.
see, we have
Yeah,
so much,
yeah,
so
and
much, so much.
and by the way, talking about that, there were reports that when people from Darfur are going to Chad, and it's like the Chadian military or Chadian government was supporting RSF in some way. So it gets more complicated. So Congo has been aching since the times of King Leopold II.
1885.
Yeah, that is 1885.
Yeah.
This guy ruled with an iron, with let's say he ruled with a machete, because he used to cut the arms and the let's say limbs of Congolese people as he forced them into labor so that they can extract, rubber for his dust of making tires. That is the Belgian king, King Leopold II. And from 1885, for 25 years, these people, up to about 1908, these people were in slavery. A lot of people were killed, a lot of massacres, and there's nothing like repatriations even today. Then, after 1980, 1908,
yeah.
we found now colonialism, where now we see
Yeah,
France.
but even before we go to after 1908, because during the 1885 to 1908 era, we had Congo under personal rule by
Yeah.
Leopold.
Yeah, because he made
And
it like
yeah,
his own.
so it was not like it's a Belgium colony. It was like, this is my piece of, this is my baby.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
Belgium is out of this. We saw UK and all of these
Yeah,
ones
because
being.
I think even the tires, the vehicle tires was his own thing. It was his own company, his family company. And he did a lot of things. And during those years, that is when they realized, Congo is even richer with
not
the
just-
gold, with these minerals.
Yeah, they also the what do you call them? The elephant
tusks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
because
also-
when he went there, it was about the elephant tusks and the
the rubber.
rubber, wild rubber. Rubber trees. You harvest the rubber. You go and make your own
Tires.
tires.
Yeah.
Then between 1908 and 1960, it was colonized. Then in 1960, we found one of our best, we can say, leaders in Africa who fought for Africans, and his name was Patrice Lumumba.
Oh man, may his
Of
soul rest
Congo, the
in
prime minister, and he
Eternal
ruled
peace.
for just
1 year.
as a prime minister. And that's when we hear Belgium and I think the West came together and ousted him, and they placed a puppet called.
He was assassinated.
He was
Can you say it?
assassinated.
Wait.
Yeah. So they placed Laurent Kabila, their own puppet, and this guy goes up to 1997, where he was ousted.
So it's from 1965 to
1961 to 1997.
Imagine all of those
Dictatorship.
years. Wow.
Then there's the war, and he's ousted. Then his son Joseph Kabila comes in. He's also ousted, and this thing continued. But let's talk about where the war started.
1996.
Rwanda,
Yeah.
1994.
1994. Sorry.
Rwanda genocide, 1994. Hutu and Tutsis are being killed.
I think we're missing out on the comments.
Yeah.
We should just. Okay, so African Dive says there have been evidence that M23 are Rwandan army. Many of those who have been killed were found with Rwandan military ID, and also 2 weeks ago, when 1,000 M23 were killed, satellite images captured.
Over 500 rebels crossing the border from.
Okay.
From Rwanda to DRC.
Wow. Yeah. All right.
Then Shabaka says, brothers and sisters, I'm with you. Africa, for Africans at home and abroad. African unity is a must. We must unify as Africa to liberate the African continent. That is true, and we have to come together and, solve these problems that the people from outside are coming
They're bringing to
they're
our
bringing.
continent. Yeah.
Yeah, then nature speaks. We were taught to forgive our enemies by our enemies. This is the problem we must now call judgment on our enemies, because the Creator gave us power in our tongues. Yeah,
They say when they slap you on one side,
you turn the other cheek.
Ah!
Sosono Live says Felix Tshisekedi is a weak leader. How do you plan to work with a leader you called a Nazi? There should be dialogue between the two countries. Politicians only worry about elections.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, actually, today they are only worried about the next 4 days.
exactly.
I want to be the president.
And if Congolese are stupid, they will take him back
The
into power.
problem is
There's that
the
influence.
Western democracy is never democracy, because there's someone
They have to
who
make
has
sure
the
that it stays there.
upper hand in rigging the elections and will be there as the president.
So it's just a waste of time. The reason
Yeah.
I usually hear people say, "Oh, young people, if you don't wake up and vote,
Yeah.
know that you are."
Yeah. Mostly,
If
sometimes
they
it
have a
works.
leader that they want to put in place, trust me, no matter how many millions go to vote,
Yeah.
the only thing we can do is to monitor the situation. If we see that this is not a leader that went into power to, like what we're seeing in some country in East Africa, that I won't say, then we should take matters into our own hands, like what they have done in AES. Because democracy, yes, sometimes it can work. You'll go and vote for the person that will work for your country.
Yeah.
But then sometimes they will just put their puppet there.
Exactly.
And it will waste
It will
all your
waste-
energy.
yeah.
Why did you even wake up to
Shabaka
vote?
has said we are not forgiving anyone until we decide who are friend or foe. African leaders must work in the interest of African people worldwide. Someone was talking about the African Union. 60%, or I think 60 or 70% of its funding comes from the EU and the West. So if someone gives you money, it's because you are working for him. So we are not expecting AU or ECOWAS to do anything
They
for
can't,
us.
man. Before these meetings, they have to consult. You
Yeah.
can't just go to a meeting and make decisions without consulting them.
Yeah.
So who are we working for, honestly?
Yeah. So let's go into history a little bit, so that we and the people who maybe from our brothers and sisters in diaspora who does know what is happening. Actually, one of our brother told us in the West, in the US, they still think that there's genocide in Rwanda today.
Yeah.
Rwanda is very beautiful today.
Yeah.
It's good.
Peaceful.
So the genocide happened in 1994, and there's a long history of why the genocide happened, from the time of colonization up to when that one of the, in Rwanda today we don't talk about tribes. So when you go
There's
to
no
Rwanda,
Hutu or
don't
Tutsi.
talk about Hutu or Tutsi. And before then, we had Tutsi and Hutu. And the white man came and, showed one of them was more powerful than the other. And that brought chaos later. And a lot of things happened that led to the genocide. And nobody even helped Rwanda during that genocide. So it happened in 1994, and the Hutus were killing Tutsis. And about 800 or more than 800,000 Tutsis were killed, and some, a big number of Hutus were killed. And when the Tutsis were able to take, or there was stability in the country, and now they have a government, 2 million Hutus ran into Congo.
Yeah.
That is in 1994. And in 1996, the government of Rwanda went into Congo to follow them, so that they can, bring these people into the book, the extremists who had caused genocide.
Chaos in Rwanda.
Yeah. So in 1996, the Rwandese now go to DRC to root out the remaining extremists. But now, so once they are there, between 1996 and 1997, we see the first Congo War. In the first Congo War, that is when they ousted. You remember the dictator Mobutu Sese Seko. This is when he was ousted, and when he's out, another person comes in. His name is Laurent Kabila. Laurent Kabila was in terms like a good friend with Rwanda. So Laurent Kabila, after some time, he fell out of the relationship soared.
Yeah.
So he ordered
The
the
Rwanda and Lawrence relationship. Yeah.
yeah. So he ordered the Rwandese army to leave, but so they left. But this guy was assassinated in 2001, and as they leave, that is 1997. In 1998 to 2003, we see the Second Congo War, and he's assassinated in 2001. Comes his son Joseph Kabila, who takes over, and the war ends in 2003, and that's where I saw. Okay, we are not yet there. So the war ends in 2003, but in the Eastern DRC, African Diaries said Kabila was supported by Angola, Uganda, Zimbabwe, and Rwanda. Yeah,
but I think they are highlighting more on Rwanda because I think it's still the agenda.
They still want to push it too far. But after the war ends in 2003, under Joseph Kabila, now the son of Laurent Kabila, in Eastern DRC, war continues. There are a lot of rebels
North, South Kivu.
Yeah, North Kivu, Ituri, South Kivu.
Oh, I keep on saying Chivu because
it's
in
Chivu.
Rwanda they say Chivu.
Yeah, it's Chivu.
So I don't know, is it Chivu in Congo or Kivu?
I think it's Chivu.
All right.
Because it's the same people across borders. You know what these borders came to do to us, eh? So in 2009, we had this military group. I don't know where it came from. I'm yet to get this information. CNDP or CNDC, which signed an agreement with their government on March 23rd, 2009. But in 2012-2013, they had a rebellion saying that this government of Kabila
didn't stay to their promise.
They didn't stay to the CNDP. They signed a pact with Congo government in 2009, March 23. But in 2012, they are like, we are going back to the forest. These guys did not follow our pact.
Just continue.
They didn't follow our pact. And they called themselves March 23 in relation to. And most reports are saying that this M23 group is a Tutsi group. So it's a Rwandese. Okay, they are saying Congolese.
Some are saying Congolese Tutsi.
Yeah.
Rwandese Tutsi.
So they go back and say we are not amused by the government, and we are going back to fight. So another, it's like
second war breaks again.
Not like how it's like they are fighting with the government.
Conflict.
Yeah, and then they take Goma briefly. Then in 2013 they sign another government agreement, and I think it's quieted for some time. But we were asking ourselves, then when it's quieted, does it mean that people are not being used to extract minerals? Because there are a lot of, like our brother is saying, over 500 rebel groups. Some are calling themselves ADF. They are aligned to ISIS. There's ICCAP, Codeco, FDLR, MAPI, Mai, Motherland. There's a lot of groups.
All of these groups being supported by outside forces.
Yeah. So at some point we were chased out by the Congolese government, the M23, and the UN. Yeah. That's what they are saying. And after that, they're saying they went to Rwanda and Uganda. But in 2021, they resumed fighting and seized territory in North Kivu. And now we are seeing them in 2023, and a lot of people are dying. So that is a lot of what has happened.
That is just a summary.
Just a summary. Probably we've left a lot of things.
And then we can never forget that women are being raped.
Yeah.
When you watch some of these documentaries, tears just roll down your eyes. You wonder, my goodness, what is happening to our motherland? Women are being raped. Children are being raped.
People are dying.
Someone was saying it's like a curse to be a girl or a female in Congo. because what they go through, even when you look at the setup of where they are living in these UN settlements, camps, you wonder,
and they are
Mamma,
being rained on. There's this video. I don't know if you can find
somebody
it.
came and misplaced or displaced somebody. In fact, they were saying that when we were in our land, we used to farm, we used to eat very well. Right now, their kids are dying of malnutrition.
Yeah.
Some are, they don't even have anything to eat. They lost their jobs, they lost their livelihoods. Their husbands had to run away when some of these wars broke, because the biggest targets are male. When they get to some of these areas,
they kill them.
they kill the male. So you find that women are left alone to be raped and be killed by some of these people.
So they have to run away. And there's this guy called Chakapas on Twitter, X, who keeps on telling people what is happening. And I've been listening to him, and he's doing, let me say, although some people are saying that he's trying to get some funding so that, but I believe him because I've seen him on the ground. So I don't know what is happening, because the government of Congo claims that M23 is funded by Rwanda. Then M23 says we are protecting our minority group of Tutsis because the FDRC, that is the military of Congo that is fighting them, is more of the Hutus who ran away. So it's like M23 is trying to protect the Tutsis. And if it's true, I don't know if, we can compare it to the Tutsis of Congo, freedom fighters, or something of the, or protectors.
Like
That's
the
what they are
Hamas
saying.
of
That's
Palestine.
what they are saying, that they are protecting these guys. Then the government of Congo is like, M23 is being funded by the Rwanda government, and sometimes I don't know how Uganda is involved.
They claim that Uganda and Rwanda want a piece of the minerals that are in that
Eastern
area, the Eastern
DRC.
DRC, the Chivos. And my biggest problem with this thing is, okay, my biggest insinuation is that this thing comes from the issue of borders, because right now you have these three countries bordering Congo, yeah. All of them claim that, okay, Rwanda, because I think Rwanda is the one that is mostly the blame is put on. Rwanda is bordering this place, and on the north part of Congo, or the east part of Congo, where there is these minerals, they claim that Rwanda wants to have, some minerals there and extract, and also, get something from that area, because they feel like, it's part of them. Maybe they have a right to. Their people are there. The reason we are saying we don't need these borders, because you find Masai in Kenya, Masai in Tanzania. Are those people different? They are the same people.
They are not.
You find Ndebele in Zimbabwe, Ndebele in South Africa. It's the same people. And then it's still in Congo and Rwanda, there's this Tutsi and Hutu, sorry. So when you have these borders, it brought along all of these conflicts, and these things date back to all of this, to these times when colonization came, even before. So we have a problem of borders. Then we have a problem of minerals. Everybody wants to
extract. So we have this problem.
Forces.
We have this problem of M23 and the government. We have this problem of corporates from the West who are taking advantage of these rebels, and we have we have now the other rebels, like those 500 which our brother is talking about. Then we have the government which said we are not going to sit down with these people and talk. But I think the best would be, because like a day ago or 2 days ago, US was able to broker 72 hours of ceasefire. But I think these guys are using this ceasefire as a way of moving, like resettling, so that they can sit somewhere to fight. So it gets more and more complicated, because Rwanda Kagame and his government says no, we are not involved. Then the government
Nobody
of
wants
Congo,
to take.
the government of Congo says we know you are involved, and we are not going to talk anything with M23. So it becomes a problem. But if they can go back to Joseph Kabila and the what they had done with M23, to be so that civilians can stop being killed.
Someone was saying the government of Congo benefits from this war, so there's no way they can stop it. We
And
don't know
probably
if
his masters also benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if those claims are true, then what are we doing as in Africa? The only solution here is for Congolese to
Yeah.
take matters into their own hands. We saw them storming MONUSCO some time back. They were their
although,
gate and
although at some point we saw the group was aligned, a lot of over 50 people were
being
killed.
killed.
So Congo is crying. Congo is weeping. When you look at the videos that, there's a video in Twitter that you see kids waiting for porridge in the rain, in rain, you feel like you want to cry. Yeah, I wish
Just
I had that
imagine.
video here.
Man, it's
Good
so
vibe.
bad.
Yeah.
And then the issue of Congo, I'm just seeing my sister here. Nature Speaks saying, I hope it's my sister.
Yeah.
She says, she talks about Niger, and I'm looking at the Congo situation and comparing it with what we have seen in AES
Yeah.
with Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. These guys are still fighting terrorism.
The good thing about those countries is when Niger decided that it's time, our brother is saying the first peaceful transition of power in DRC happened in 2018 from Joseph Kabila to Felix Tshisekedi. Yeah, that was good. Then there's Nature Speaks talking. Guys, take a look at Niger. The citizens came out and marched, used a goat as the death of France and in a coffin. Now look at the result in Niger. So what happened in Niger is Niger found two big brothers who were able to support us. Say we are not going to allow anybody to bring Niger down. They have decided. So imagine today something like that happens in Congo, DRC, and they get a leader who is able to say, we are not going to allow these extremists, we are not going to allow external forces, we want UN out, we want France out, we want all this out, and we want to sell our minerals the right way.
Congo needs an Ibrahim Traore.
Yeah.
Congo needs.
But which country around would support it? Zambia to the south, Angola, Gabon, Republic of Congo, Chad.
But I think it starts
Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi. Which one?
It starts with you as a country taking a stand to say we are done with this nonsense. If it's terrorism, if it's these rebel groups or whatever, we are the ones who will kick them out. And with the leader that we have in the current president of Congo, I don't see it happening. So unless
some people call him frog.
So unless we change frog into a better leader like Traore, we need, for me, I think a coup is a solution for Congo because this thing will continue. It's just like the agreements that we have seen France having with Burkina Faso and Niger and Mali that they had to do away with. If those agreements were still in place, these countries would still be there.
In line with that, Nature Speaks is saying now most diaspora planning to invest in Niger because the citizens took their future in their hands.
That's it.
Africans need to stop praying and start organizing themselves against their enemies. Thank you so much for that.
Let me tell you something about Africans and religion. When all of these things, they call them trials and tribulations, the solution that they always give us is prayer. But prayer without action, honestly, where will it take us? We will pray and God is just looking at us and thinking, how stupid can my people be? Take matters into your own hands. Niger has done it. Mali was celebrating conquering Kidal the other day, and they did it themselves.
Something they hadn't done for over
with the
9
UN
years.
presence.
Yeah. So African Dive is saying this was one of the reasons why Zimbabwe got sanctioned because at the time it had a very powerful army. Yeah, I remember that. It was sanctioned because of Congo. That was one of the reasons. Nature Speaks says we must control our narrative. The West uses the divide and conquer method always against us. And that's the problem. Like even you look at Congo, Congo, you find there are different ethnic groups. And even if you remove this president and put another one, people will still feel like this is not our president because it doesn't come from our ethnic group and all that. But what we need, and we keep saying this, is what we need is to find an African democratic way of lead or an African leadership method. like something that comes out from, our forefathers before colonization. This is how they used to lead. It was working. Now let us do that. Shabaka is saying political education and organization is key to African liberation. We must form revolutionary organizations at the African freedom fighters of the EFF. I hope EFF can lead so that, from the south, we can experience something, and hopefully he doesn't get carried away by being a president.
Hey, Malema.
But we are enjoying something like AES, the Alliance of Sahel States. It's beautiful. Then
The energy that Malema has, I'm also scared that when he gets the power.
Yeah.
No, but we hope that they give EFF a chance. Let us see where these guys could lead Africa.
Yeah.
Not just South Africa, Africa as a whole.
Yeah. So the West, Nature Speak says the West will pay dearly for this. Yeah. Once the black man rises or the African rises, they will see dust.
I think they're already seeing it
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
It's
this
quite scary for them.
African Dive says there's allegations that Kagame wants to establish
Mapororo
Empire, whereby Tutsi rules Uganda, Rwanda, and DRC. Wow.
Those are
Wow,
allegations.
I don't know. Then Museveni is a Tutsi. Really?
No, I think those are allegations also.
No. Shapaka says we must organize ourselves as African people worldwide, regardless of religion, tribes, gangs, or place of birth. Africa for Africans at home and abroad. The unity of African people.
Let me tell you something about Africa. When they found that Africa is rich in cultural diversity, tribes, and all of these things, they use those things against us.
Yeah.
Africa, when you look at culture in Southern Africa and in East Africa, it's the same. It's just that
most things are
similar. Like all the traditions that you do for a child from birth to death, almost similar. If the way
just
we live,
maybe a little bit,
just
tweaking.
maybe to suit where you are, but it's similar, and that is the power that we had as Africans. You could travel from East Africa to Southern Africa and you wouldn't feel lost, because if they are performing a culture or whatever, you'd feel like, oh, this is similar to what I'm used to in my country. In Nigeria, we saw a documentary just some days ago when they were talking about tribalism and how it's affecting Nigerians. Tribalism in Nigeria, they say that it's so huge that when an Igbo does this, they say, it's because you're an Igbo.
So
when somebody
we also push this narrative.
Yeah.
And there was a time PLO Lumumba was talking about Kenya, and he said, let our diversity be our strength
and unity.
Yeah. So that link on your screen, if you would like to join us. African Dive, I know you have a lot of information. Please click on that link and join us.
We should go with African socialism
proposed by Kwame Nkrumah. Yeah.
But those are the times that I think we are beginning to go back to this. These people are, what do you call it? Is it in reincarnation? Yeah. I think we're seeing some of these leaders coming up from nowhere, and Africans following, in their footsteps. So maybe PLO Lumumba says Africa will be great. Maybe not in our lifetime, but in the lifetime of our great-grandchildren.
Actually, people are waking up.
But when he says in the lifetime of our great-grandchildren, I'm like, no, man, I need to experience this thing. You can't tell me it will eventually be a powerhouse, but not now. Maybe in 50, I don't know, 100 years to come. But let's just work towards improving our continent as a people.
So Sono Leaf says Dr. Chokwe Kokalia Maiga, Maiga, Prime Minister of Mali, had an amazing interview on Al Jazeera. He explained the works of an imperialist.
Of the imperialist.
I can only thank Arikana, Dr. Arikana Tiobariko. I know, guys, Dr. Arikana. She was the person who opened our eyes. She's the person who said, this is what France is doing in Africa. This is what the West is doing in Africa. This is why we have military bases, and this is what the military bases are doing. And after she talked about it, a lot of young people in YouTube, X, that was Twitter, Facebook, went out and shared
Ah,
this with the world,
yeah.
and a lot of Africans
Woke
woke up.
up.
That was
Ooh.
20 to
During COVID.
2019, 2020,
Ah,
during COVID, when
COVID
people
was the
were
best.
in the their homes,
Mm,
lockdowns. People would be watching and say, "Wow, I didn't know that." Then with
mm,
her followed PLO Lumumba,
mhm,
uh, Malema, a lot of other people. Now we are
mm.
seeing it happening. Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger forming a confederation. Beautiful.
Nature Speak says things are moving really fast. So I think in the next 20 years, we will see most countries in Africa free. Whew, 20 years
This
at least.
this
Hopefully, by God's grace.
this guy
Inshallah,
this
we
this
shall be
guy
alive.
in
Uh-huh.
X who makes me laugh.
Mhm.
Who said in the next year we'll be seeing about five uprising, like
Oh,
democratic
yeah,
coup.
yeah, yeah. In fact, he's even written the countries that he's looking
No,
into.
people are proposing, hey, I
Mhm.
want my country Nigeria. Oh, yeah,
We
yeah.
have our brother searching for Africa who wants to
Yeah.
join.
Hey, brother, searching for Africa.
It's
Thank you,
always good
thank
to
you,
see you,
thank you,
brother.
thank
How are
you.
you?
How are you guys doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Good. I like the live. In terms of if you guys remember a few months ago, let me start with Sudan, which is a
Mm-hmm.
tragedy. I'm the one who have been posting about Dr. John Henry Clark and so on, so son of leave. Yeah. If you remember a few months ago, some French troops were caught crossing from the Sudan to Chad.
Mm-hmm.
Chad
Wow.
troops crossed them. So if you remember the speaker during the UN from Burkina Faso, he was mentioning what France was trying to do. They were trying to build to basically reconquer from the whole Sahel, right from Mauritania all the way over to the Sudan. And one of the things that France is trying to do, France is trying to secure gold access, because they know that this CFA franc and this thing that they have going on, it can't last forever. So they want to
Mm.
hoard as much gold and get control of as much gold as possible. That it is said that if the CFA franc collapse, like France will become bankrupt within less than a month. So yeah, France is involved. The UAE as well. They're trying to hold gold. They're involved in the DRC, in in Zimbabwe as well.
Mm.
They're everywhere. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
And I
Wow.
think in Zimbabwe, UAE is it buying
No, that
or
is the issue. This thing
mm-hmm.
on carbon
Mm-hmm.
carbon credits.
Mm-hmm.
They were given about
11, is it
10%.
11 or 10%
But
from Zimbabwe?
then remember also we saw the US creating a corridor,
Mm-hmm.
really coming from Angola.
Zambia,
Yeah.
Angola,
So it's
Zimbabwe, I
from
think.
the Angola port
Mm-hmm.
going to DRC and Zambia.
Mm.
So
For extracting minerals.
it's all about extracting minerals from Africa.
France is in trouble, and France, knowing that if anything happens to their CFA, of which already I think it's
Yeah.
starting to
Yeah.
collapse, because if the ES implements their own currency, it's done. The remaining is just a matter of coups, and that is it.
Yeah.
So once France loses that power in Africa, they will make sure. So I think somebody was commenting that France will not just leave Africa
Yeah,
empty-handed.
it would be very difficult because remember,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
one of their leaders said that they depend wholly on Africa. If they just left Africa
Mm-hmm.
alone,
That's
they
it.
would fall back into a third world country.
Yeah, so there's no way they will. And if what our brother is saying, searching for Africa, on them looking into gold and in Sudan, Sudan is not their former colony.
Yeah.
So you can see how they are now placing themselves everywhere strategically in all these African countries to make sure that even if we don't benefit in Niger, since they've chased us
Yeah.
out,
We
there's
have,
some way we would have
and
gotten.
remember, their troops, when once they left Niger, they went to Chad,
Mhm.
and Chad has about 15,000 troops, French troops.
Yeah,
That's a
that's a
lot of,
that's a whole army in your
yeah, that's a
country.
whole army in your country.
Yeah,
So
so yeah, in the Darfur region is very rich in gold because it is within the, if you look at the map, it is within you would say the west side of Sudan, so it border
Chad,
Chad. So
yeah,
all the way up, they're trying to secure the whole Sahel. Now they've lost Niger, they lost Burkina Faso, Mali,
Mali.
which is a huge gold producer. So now these imperialists, they are so, cunning. And actually, one of France's goal was to conquer the whole of the Sahel during colonization time, because they were racing from the west part of Africa.
Mm.
They wanted to reach all the way to Somalia. So that's where they wanted up to Djibouti. That's where they wanted. So these imperialists, they're very dangerous. They've been it's something, what
yeah,
they've been doing 400 years ago is what they're doing now. In
Same
the
yeah,
thing.
DRC as well, it's all about resources.
yeah,
All this thing about whatever, it's all about the resources. You cause conflicts. Maybe Rwanda might be complicit in it a bit, but it's all about the resources. It's not
yeah,
just the eastern part of DRC that is rich. It's the whole country.
Mm. It's
yeah.
a whole country.
It's
Yeah.
a,
It's the
it's
most
a,
Mm.
busiest airspace in the world.
Mm.
DRC is the most busiest airspace in the world. And
yeah,
yeah,
and they usually say that the planes come carrying weapons, they go back carrying
They
minerals.
even have drones.
Yeah,
hmm.
like, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So we don't need Captain Traore in DRC. We need a Gota, somebody who doesn't speak, somebody who just say this is this and it's over. We need a Goita, somebody who's very serious. He doesn't speak as much. He's
yeah.
very straightforward. He do what he says. I mean, Traore does it, but you
It
It
know,
talks
also,
a lot.
yeah, it is. But I still love our
Goita,
man.
It is
Goita may not be
transparent.
as actually Goita had too cool. You can tell that this man didn't even want power, because at first he had a coup, I think, in 2020,
Yeah,
and
Mhm.
then he put in a civilian leader, but the civilian leader was, you know, bowing to France, and then he come and say, okay, we will not make this mistake again. So that's why Mali is where it is. We need somebody who's very serious, somebody who's strong, somebody who's brave. We don't need these weak politicians that come
No.
out and just say stuff because they want to get elected. Like the people of
It's as
DRC
simple
have
as
been
that.
suffering for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
We need
Mm.
we need some serious leaders in Africa. We can't
yeah.
take
Mm.
these old big belly men who's
The fraud.
Yeah, I think it's as simple as that. Just that one leader who will stand up for his country. If, your likes of Assimi Goita, and then I think looking at these people, they are scared of these assassinations. They scare us with
Those
killings,
assassinations. Yeah.
and then you're like, if I stand up against these guys,
Mhm.
I'll be the next one to be assassinated. So as long as my country is still moving and I'm benefiting however way, let's just continue this mess.
I think the tactic that is working for the AES
Mm-hmm.
is, apart from you are fighting these people, you are also vocal to your people. You are educating them and telling them the reason why we are like
Yeah,
this is because of
exactly.
this.
So if anything happens to you, the next person
Yeah,
who will take up will know who he's
yeah,
dealing with.
and that's the reason why when there was a a trial for
Mm-hmm.
coup
Mm-hmm.
in Burkina Faso, I think a month or two ago, you saw people coming out in drones and saying, if you touch a hair on Ibrahim Traore,
That's it.
will be on you.
Yeah.
So you find that people have also
They
created their
understand.
own, something they are called about vigil for
Mm.
protecting the army. They are
Mm.
the people protecting the army, which is supposed to protect the president.
Yeah.
mm,
So even that has been very instrumental.
Mm.
Then today we have social media,
Mm-hmm.
and people keep on following what's happening, and
mm.
that's why you saw even ECOWAS were not able to go to Niger, because people are like, don't try that.
Tinubu, we know your
The people
tricks.
of Niger the people of Niger want this government.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
support them fully.
Yeah, but in times of Patrice Lumumba or Thomas Sankara, you just
People were just
had.
killed. Our
Yeah,
leaders just went like that.
And I
yeah,
and I think the population is ready for this. It's I'm telling you, if there's a coup in Nigeria, which I'm hoping will happen, if
yeah.
there's a
Me
coup
too.
in, let's say, well, I don't call for coups. I call for revolution. Let's say
Yeah.
there's a revolution in Nigeria. The people will support because, like Captain Traore said, this is very barbaric. You've been killing millions of people
Hmm.
just for greed. The imperialists, they can actually get more out. They could have gotten more out of Africa if they didn't use this form of barbarism, slavery. Now, all you have to do is come, you share technology, and you trade with people. But the greed of these people, I'm telling you, the population, if Congo get a Assimi Goita or a Chiani or a Traore, the people will support them because the people have been facing it. You
Yeah,
know,
and I think the people of Nigeria are very tired.
Congo, yeah,
Same.
Congo, we've seen them protesting on the
Yeah,
streets against UN and all of these
yeah,
guys who are mistreating and useless in their country. So I think if they've got somebody like that,
yeah.
they would be fully supportive of them.
Then we have Nigeria, we have Senegal, we have Equatorial Guinea, we have Cameroon. Those are countries, and the Republic of Congo.
Mhm.
Those are countries in which we know people are dead tired. So our brother African Dive is asking whether StreamYard is free. Yes, it has a free version and a paid version, but we only use the free version. So you can click, when you click on the StreamYard link that we have shared, it will lead you to our live stream, and we'll see you and we'll add you to our live
Yeah,
stream.
maybe you can ask some of the questions
Yeah.
live. Nature Speak says France and the West is under judgment. UK and the other Western countries are bleeding sharks. It's our time now to rise, and nothing will stop us, not even ourselves.
Yeah.
Nah, sometimes just like what you're saying, Nature Speaks. Sometimes you look at a topic and you're like, oh, we just ignore it. But you find yourself having to talk about it because it just bugs you so much that
Yeah.
why are we quiet and these things are happening? Why can't our people even talk about these things? Some of our people don't know. I'm in a noisy place. Okay.
It's okay.
No
It's
worries.
okay.
You can just type. Hopefully we'll be able to answer our questions. So some people are like, why aren't Africans talking about these issues that are happening in their country? And honestly, they don't know what is happening.
Yeah.
They do. Some Congolese don't even know what is happening in parts of their country. Some are in places where there's not a lot of conflicts, and they cannot even talk about these things because they have no idea. It's like when you hear people saying Kenya is in the whatever, I don't know, part of Kenya, there's conflicts, there's terrorists. Some people in Nairobi don't know what is happening there.
Yeah.
And because you don't talk about some of these things, they just pass. These guys can extract their minerals the way they want. Nature Speak says the worst of us leading us. Nigeria president has no shame, no brains. So sad to see black men acting like fools.
I
Man,
think
that
he's
guy
very
needs to
old.
retire.
Yeah, he's very old, and I don't think he's the one who's leading the country,
Mhm.
because we just shared a video of ECOWAS in which is the leader
And the
and
delegate.
looking at the ECOWAS meeting. What do we call ECOWAS meeting? It was an EU meeting or a EU
That was
US
just an
meeting,
EU meeting.
because the presidents are just on the front row, then everybody else is white. So it's very sad. Even the organizations which are supposed to fight for us cannot fight for us because they are not ours. Africa Dive is saying you should cover sanctions in Zimbabwe. The real war against imperialism is being fought in Zimbabwe. Yeah, Zimbabwe has been going through a lot, and I think it's true.
worth discussion.
We should do that next time.
Yeah, people are still complaining about Mnangagwa. There's free and fair election issues. You just don't know what is happening with Zimbabwe. And then there's still the issue of land, which Malema keeps talking about. If a black man doesn't have ownership to land and property, he is as useless as, I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can
you
negotiate with somebody if you don't own anything under your name.
because
Zimbabwe is in
an
trouble.
African is about farming their own food and keeping their own animals. If you don't have that, if you don't have anything, a cow or some anything, nobody, people will not even recognize you as a human being. So we will cover that.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to touch on a little bit more on Sudan, what you guys were talking about in term.
Yeah,
I mentioned in the chat about Dr. John Henry Clark lecture about the Sudan and why the Arab world they view. There's a saying that Sudan is the breadbasket of the Arab world because it has so much fertile land. You have, you have a lot of water. You have a lot of resources.
yeah,
So if you remember, Sudan was basically colonized by British and Upper Egypt, the Egyptian Arabs, and there've been an like Dr. Professor Lumo said, there's been an Arabization, if that a word, of mostly East, Northwest Africa, so forth. But these people who are attacking people that would look mostly like me, they are not Arabs. You look at them, they're not Arab. They're actually Africans. You look at
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Somalis.
yeah,
They look just like the Somalis. They look just like the
Exactly.
Ethiopians. They just look like the
Mm.
Eritreans, and
yeah,
even at the southern part of Egypt. These people are not Arab because you speak Arabic, and your hair might be a bit softer than mine, but our skin color is basically the same thing. We have the same nose and same. It's I think that's why you see the UAE, the Saudis, because every time there's something, the government will run to Saudi Arabia, and then you have Kenya back in the rebel group because Kenya always come out to speak against the government. You understand? So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it is a proxy. It is a proxy war. It's not a civil war because the Sudanese people are not involved in this. It is a proxy war between, I would say, East and West. You know, um, the Sudan is very rich. Most people in the Arab world have their eyes on it, and it's just Africans who are suffering. So, and a lot of corrupt African leaders in, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but few leaders in East Africa, I think, is complicit in this war. They're positioning in themselves. They're taking sides because they came out with a statement about the leaders meeting, but then the government came out and said, "Oh, this is not what we agree on." Then why would the East African community come out and say this? It's like they're trying to be on the side of the rebel groups,
Yeah.
rather than, yeah, they're picking side. So it is it is very dangerous. It's very
Yeah,
dangerous.
yeah, we at some point we saw President Ruto taking a side,
Mm.
and these guys replied to him, and they were very bitter and said, "You are not going to tell us anything with your kaunda suits."
Oh.
Then people are also saying that one of the countries in the East Africa are being used to move the weapons from UAE to RSF. Yeah, so there's that problem, and it's a huge problem because if we are to end this war, we need not take sides but bring them together, like
Yeah.
what the IGAD is trying to do, and hopefully it will work.
Nature Speak says, why should the black men appreciate their land when they were taught that their mansion is in heaven? They first need to know that heaven is in Africa.
Yeah, actually, someone
Oh,
said Congo is a small hell in heaven
Mm.
because
people are
Congo,
suffering and it
imagine
has everything.
if Congo was to develop, it would be the most beautiful place to be.
They can't let that happen.
There's always rainfall, there's always food, there's everything. Actually, even the gorillas, which you
Oh.
don't see anywhere else in the world, are there.
And I'm sure most of the people are told, don't worry, this suffering is just for this earth. You will
Yeah,
go
you
and,
go to your mansion in heaven.
celebrate. We have been so brainwashed and deceived, and we believed that yes, we shall suffer for a while on this
Yeah.
earth, and we shall live the
It
best of
doesn't
the
make
best
sense.
in heaven. Who has gone to heaven and seen people
The
living
question is,
their best life?
so we were put here to
To
suffer,
suffer
then
and
we
then
can
go.
go to the that mansion. Why couldn't we just cross over? Because
Why not stay on that other side if that is where the life is?
anyway,
Africans, we still have a lot.
we need a lot. We need to wake up, and we have a lot of work to wake
Mm.
up our people so
Mm.
that we can fight. And
Yeah.
what we are saying about AES is
Mhm.
those guys have woken up. Even when you see people in the villages,
Mhm.
they know what is happening.
Mm.
Yeah.
They have woken up, and what they did is they went and the national TV channels.
Mhm.
They were told, we want you to report what is there. And when you go to Burkina Faso, they even report what is happening in the front line in the fight
Mm.
against terrorists.
Yeah.
Oh
Every
yes.
day, if you go to the YouTube channel of Faso
Mhm. Password
7,
7.
Faso 7,
Mhm.
or there's the other one which is called
RT.
RTB,
Mhm.
you find that they are reporting everything that is happening on the front line.
Yeah.
You see, they show you even dead terrorists. And they
Mm.
tell you they were coming to attack this, and
Mm.
so a lot of people, because
Burnt,
if
guys.
there's something which is used to brainwash us,
Mm.
is
Yeah.
media. And
Mm.
if you look at most media in Africa, when they are talking about Ukraine-Russia war,
Mhm.
they write courtesy of Reuters, courtesy of CNN, so they are copying direct. So
Whatever CNN has
the
said,
narrative that is
we
being
go with
passed
that.
by the West, you go
Mm.
with that.
Mm.
But if it was an independent
Mhm.
media, it would look into what is happening,
And
probably
report
even
independently.
listen to the other side and
Mhm.
report directly.
Independently.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Well, most media houses in Africa are funded by the West. I was in Ghana and I listened to some of them, and oh gosh, and it's not just Ghana. It is in the Caribbean. You know, in Jamaica, when we have international news, they would broadcast BBC, they would broadcast CNN. They say, no, we're turning to international news. They don't even comment on it. They just broadcast BBC, CNN, or some other Western station. And I remember I was watching as I mentioned, the interview with the Malian prime minister, which is a good interview to watch. If you're smart enough, you can see what Al Jazeera is trying to do, their propaganda. But the guy is so intelligent. He mentioned that France, within the parliament of Mali at the time, France approached different ethnic um, ministers from different ethnic groups and say, okay, we will support you in breaking up Mali. So they approach people from the Tuareg region, other people from different ethnic groups, and say, oh, we will help you to break up Mali. So France came in, said they're going to fight terrorists. And what they did, they went in, they fought their way, pretended to fight to the middle of the country. This is what the prime minister said in the interview, in the middle of the country, and say, okay, we're stopping here. What they did is that they set like a training base. This is where all the groups would train and converge, and then they spread out and decide to divide up the country. And within that, now it affects all three countries within that region. If you notice where Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger meet, it's close to where France want to cut all those countries. So the Assimi Goita got caught onto that, and thank God they stopped. Right now, we should be praising these leaders because they probably saved Africa. Because if that happened, then all the coastal states, Nigeria would split in two. It may not be known.
Yes, yes. And in addition to that, these guys are showing us that we can do something.
Yeah.
And Assimi Goita is the one who was talking about a period when they had gone to the Kidal area, like some 9 years ago. And when they wanted to follow the terrorists,
Mhm.
the French military
Said
told them,
no.
no, you cannot go there. If you go there, we are going to shoot you. So it's like they were protecting this case. Yeah. So African Diver is saying there's an independent media called Breakthrough News. Been I've been
Following them.
and they are not biased. And that reminds me of the Russian TV. What is it called? RT News.
Sputnik. No?
No, there's RT News.
Okay.
Yeah. And probably Sputnik. There's Nature Speaks saying the white man sent their missionaries first to Africa to conquer the minds of our people. Then later we were left with we are left their version of the Bible telling us to submit to our masters and to forgive them. And in addition to that, there's someone who was talking about this, and most of these things that you see in the Bible, especially the Old Testament, if you look at them, then you look at African spirituality, they are
Contradictory.
no, they are almost the same
For the old.
for the Old Testament. So it's like they came all over Africa
Collected information. Yeah.
and then Africa was black, and Middle East, some parts like Yemen is still black. And some areas, Saudi Arabia, Oman, the people who came to Zanzibar to colonize, Said Emperor, they were all black Arabs. So it's about Africa, that Africa that have been taken and now changed. So after to use this book to colonize our
Against
minds,
us, yeah.
they changed a lot of things. So at some point it will tell you have to be obedient to your master. A slave must be obedient to their master. So this person comes, makes sure they are slaves, and you have to be
obedient. Because
then,
the Bible says.
Yeah. So it doesn't make sense. And someone else was saying that religion makes you, like, caps you. You have to go up to here. But if you leave religion and you go spirituality,
Things deeper.
spirituality now gives you the
the freedom even
the
to
freedom
think
to
beyond.
explore and think beyond. Yeah. So we should choose spirituality which is African.
And some people always mistake spirituality for atheists. The minute you say you are spiritual, it's like you have denounced God, the existence of God. I don't know where that comes from, because God will always, for us who believe in God, God is God.
Yeah.
God is the supreme being. So you bringing in a narrative of being atheist because you are not believing in the way that they say will take us to God. I don't know. There's just too much. If we start the topic of religion, we'd need to invite PLO Lumumba to help us. Otherwise,
Nature Speaks tenses. Then they took our minerals, lands, and remains of our people. They took our history, they destroyed everything, our way of writing. They started teaching us new things. But inshallah,
you should see the people in Congo, kids especially, when they die, the shallow graves that they are buried in. And then you ask yourself, how cruel are we? Because I was looking at the graveside, you won't even see that this is a gravesite, It's just like they're throwing away these bodies. And we should be okay with these things. We should say, it's our masters, let them do whatever they want to do in our continent. It is so painful. African Type says, do you understand French? That is your question.
A little. On pew.
Just a little, just to get us by. All right, Russia Today is another news.
RT.
RT news. Media outlet that
Thank you for that. There's someone who was explaining something that happened in Eastern DRC, I think North Kivu, in which these people comes and digs a trench like a grave. Then they tell people to sit around with their legs inside. Then they shoot them, so they fall inside. So it becomes like they kill you and they bury you. It's sad. It's horrific. And DRC needs Goita Semi and Ibrahim Traore and Abdurrahman Chiani or Amalema, someone who's not afraid to call it as it is and say enough is enough. And for our people, for my people, we need to stand up.
I think we have done not justice to this topic, but I think we have at least
Yeah.
just touched upon.
Next time we should look for an expert, to someone who may be from Congo.
Exactly, that's what
Yeah.
I wanted to say. I would love to have somebody from Congo to explain what is happening on the ground, because this whatever information we have gathered here is from the media, so they can twist the narrative to suit
Their
whatever they
masters.
want us to know, because most of them are blaming Rwanda. We want to know, how is Kagame involved, what is really happening, because I've also seen people protesting on the ground, protesting, Congolese saying that Kagame, Rwanda has everything to do with this conflict. But we don't know where all of this narrative is coming in, with Kagame, M23, and all of these bodies that
Yeah.
are on the, God is a spirit living in our bodies. So we need to do what God, which is the spirit, teach us to do. Fight for justice, etc. And
Yeah.
our God will always want justice for
And
his people.
Maponga said
Mm-hmm.
the name God is English.
Yeah.
So we have the name of our God, and the way we understand God as Africans, as as Zulu, as Shona, as Devele, as we have the way we understand God, and that's what is important. Yeah.
What is African type saying?
African insider is deeply knowledgeable, and we are going to look
Yeah.
to
Hopefully we
contact
can
him.
have.
Hopefully he will join us in
Yeah,
our
that's
next
what I'm saying. We
session.
can have a discussion with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys.
Thank you, African Dave.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you feel like we should continue? I'm hearing there's a lot of noise where we are right now, and I think we have touched upon what
Yeah.
we were hoping to touch on today.
Yeah. But we need to keep on talking about this. Keep telling people what is happening in DRC and in Sudan, and maybe hopefully, because if there's something that has happened, helped the AES, is the media.
Yeah.
And people talking about it and supporting these guys. So in the same spirit, we need to talk about Congo, because when we talk about Congo, people who don't know are going to talk about it, and they are going to be motivated to continue, putting it on social media. Yeah.
Let me tell you, I've seen a lot of South African celebrities posting on their Instagram, Twitter, Facebook about what is happening in Palestine. With South Africa supporting and boldly standing with Palestine, most of the celebrities are sharing information on what is happening in Gaza and what is, the atrocities that these people are facing. So if we could start a movement where all of us could share information on Congo, even if it's just sharing that this is what is happening. Remember, after we saw that TikTok video on kids being served porridge, and this porridge
That's their
usually,
meal.
yeah, that is gonna be their meal for the whole day.
Yeah.
If we could keep on sharing some of these things, I think it could also open up to the conversation about Congo, about Sudan, because our people are not talking about this thing because they don't know. Most of them
Actually,
don't know.
there's a reporter, Al Jazeera reporter, who said that he was maybe he was trying to say why they are not airing a lot of Congo. She said it's so complicated that they don't even know what to talk about.
And that's Al Jazeera, a whole big international media outlet.
Yeah. So I think talking about it more if we are able to give people our
Views,
media, no, like our channels, so that they can air what they know. If we are able to find people in the Congo
exactly
who are able to come through our media and talk to
Exactly.
people and say this is what is happening, we have done a good job.
Yeah, because there's a lady, just you saying that, it reminds me of this lady in Congo was saying, I was raped by some guy and I lost I was pregnant, she lost her baby. And then she was saying, this is the first time I'm sharing this news with you. And I don't even know how I came to share it, because even my husband doesn't know what happened to me. I hid it from him. So even people on the ground in Congo are not speaking out. If we could give a platform where people are able to talk, if we in the diaspora are speaking about these things in Congo, just share on your status what is happening in Congo. Get a link of a video that you feel like this is someone sharing the information. Let us talk about these things, because I think we have spoken about Ukraine, Palestine so many times that we have forgotten our people and they are bleeding. Right now, someone in Congo is being raped. Right now, somebody in Congo is being
being
killed.
killed.
You know?
Children are sleeping outside in mosquitoes
It's so
infested
painful,
areas,
man. It's so painful.
and some people are enjoying the
Someone is wearing a gold watch and
or
jewelry
someone
worth
is making a
millions
lot of
and
money.
dollars.
Yeah.
Hey,
So it's very sad. It's very sad for Africa. And when we don't talk about it and nobody
no
will
one
talk
will talk
about
about
it,
it. They go, don't care about us.
yeah,
You
we
die.
nobody
Who
cares
cares?
about us, especially except for us, because we are not seen as people. Yeah. Nature speaks. Thank you so much. We are hoping that we are going to have an impact in our African society, and we are going to, Sosonole, thank you. Yeah, Africa Stream
And
talks a
Africa
lot.
views are good
Yeah,
sources.
talks a lot. Africa Stream talks a lot about this,
Mm,
and they've been having also live streams
mm,
talking about this. Then there's a guy called African Analysts
mm.
who talks about Chad and what is happening in the Chad Sudan area. Then there's a guy called Lomisa Rable.
Mhm.
He talks about Congo, but I think he's inside of the government or M23. It's very complicated.
Now you don't even know which side to
Yeah,
listen to
yeah,
because
yeah,
everybody's saying, nah, it's not me, it's them.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
fact
So
remains people are being raped, people are being killed, our resources are being stolen. That is all that matters. Who is responsible? We need to get out, rid of all of these
yeah,
circles that are
but
making
but
sure that these
I'm
things
sure
continue.
I'm sure in the coming year, or
Mhm.
let's say 5 years,
Yeah.
Africa will be very different. We have seen a lot happening in the Sahel, and Nigeria, like our brother said, we are hoping for a
Of course.
revolution. Senegal almost got to that point, but they are pressing the guy so down, the
Yeah.
Pan African guys. His name is Sonko.
Mhm.
He's being pressed, and I think he'll be allowed to run for government.
Mhm.
But
I think we should close up.
yeah,
In closing, our brother searching for Africa, please, if you'd love to give us your, I don't want to say final words because it sounds like
no,
your
for
closing
today,
remarks.
yeah,
Yeah.
for today,
Yeah, yeah. Thank you guys for having me. You guys are doing a good job. I say that every time. I watch you guys all the time. It's good. I
thank
share
you
your
so much.
videos. But I want our people to understand something. I know we get emotional and it's really hard on us. It strains us when we see all this killing and stuff happening. But we have to understand geopolitics and understand that everywhere there's war, there's a reason. And we have to get to the bottom of that reason. And most of the time, the reason for that war is not the tribal, what we call like tribalism or ethnic conflicts. It's something bigger. So we have to understand that, and that way we can solve the problem. Yeah, that's what's going on in the AES and all that stuff. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's my final word. And keep up the good work.
yeah. And thank you so much for joining us. Nature Speaks says no one will come to save us. We are our own savior. Remember, even Ibrahim Traore said it's Africa doing things for Africa. Then Africa Dive says if Sonko wins, he might join Traore, Koita, and Chiani. Yeah, I know that. If Sonko wins, France is out of Senegal.
Yeah.
What is happening in Guinea, because it's been silent since the coup. So Guinea-Bissau or Guinea. We knew Guinea.
Mhm.
We had this guy, what was his name? And he refused to join the AES.
Yeah.
So we don't know what he wants.
And he seemed like a very, when he
Yeah,
started, he
yeah.
was a Ruto like guy.
Yeah,
Then we lost
it was
him.
good because he also say it was also in line with the AES guys saying if you touch in
Yes.
Niger, we are
Yeah. And he
coming
used
for
to
you.
speak very well.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
I'm just touched by our brother Searching for Africa's closing remarks that let us stop looking at things at face value. When you hear that there's a conflict in Mozambique, in this part of Mozambique, ask yourself, what
Yeah,
minerals are there?
yeah,
Why don't just think, these Mozambicans can't live in harmony with each other. It's never about us as Africans. Never. So we should dig deeper into these things and don't just accept what we are given as, hey, this tribe cannot live with this tribe in Zimbabwe. They are always fighting each other.
Yeah.
Let us investigate, because that is where they get the power. If we don't talk about these things, they know that they can do and conquer and nobody will care about it.
Yeah.
If we talk about them, they will know that, hey, you cannot, nowadays Africa is untouchable. You won't bring the issue of tribalism, you won't bring the issue of ethnicity. They know that there's something deeper that is happening in that area.
Yeah. And African Dive is saying they trained with Goita.
But what happened to him?
That guy was supposed to be a very good guy, and I remember
Supposed to.
him talking about
Yeah, Mama
Mother
Tudabuya.
Tubuya.
Yeah. He's playing a smart
He's
guy.
with.
Oh,
I hope so. I hope.
mm.
But why isn't he opening? Okay. It's very far from Niger. Probably Mali is using Senegal.
But what makes you think he's okay? What makes you say that he's maybe some evidence there? We can investigate this, because I am trying to trace his footsteps, and I'm like, where did we lose you, man?
Yeah.
You know,
And we were like, wow, this guy must be. He's doing.
the noise.
He's kind of he's not into so much, joining these guys, but he was there, even talked about in the UN.
He's the only one who opened the port to the AES.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that.
And we saw Benin.
Mhm.
Benin is also like they
refuse
want to
to.
normalize. Benin wants to normalize this the EAS. The Niger.
Uh-huh.
They want to normalize Niger being like the new government of Niger, and they have also allowed them to use the airport for the oil.
He kicked France out and went silent. I remember him. He did all of these good things, and we were like, wow, this is another member of AES.
Man, I hope he said the airport belongs to Burkina Faso. Wow.
I remember that.
That's amazing. Yeah.
But I thought he went back. I thought he changed his mind like Ruto.
No.
I don't know.
Ruto is something else.
Guys, would love to end this live, and before we do so, please check out our brother African Dive. The
That
link
is his link.
Yeah.
Subscribe. I'm also subscribing right now.
Yeah, we also need to subscribe. Please check him out, subscribe, and let us support him, and help him get his community bigger and bigger, so that we can also listen and understand. Some things we lose up on some things because we can't cover everything.
We have subscribed to African Dive,
and thank you so much to all of you for joining.
Yeah, and we see you in the next videos through the week, and
hopefully,
and our
do
life.
we promise? The coming Saturday. It's nearing Christmas, and for Christians, it's the busiest time of the year. So
we'll be here no matter what.
So guys, we are hoping that we'll see you on Saturday, 22nd.
Yeah.
Around 22nd, 23rd, I'm not very sure. 23rd of December. Hopefully we'll be able to schedule another live and have you. Today's live was quite interesting because all of you joined and all of you were, part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So thank you so
Good
much.
You so much.
Good night.
Bye.
What time is it where you are, Nature Speaks? I was thinking she's in the US. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us. We shall see you very soon. And please don't forget to watch our videos throughout the week. We try to post videos every day to keep you guys posted. All right.
So, bye-bye.
Good night, African Dive. Bye.